I was thinking, like I was trying to imagine infinite love because it was in a meditation that I was doing.
Mhm.
And so I was like imagining infinite universes, and I can imagine that. I mean, I can't imagine like what they might be, but I can imagine that there are infinite universes and that they're constantly changing so that they are constantly being infinite. Fine. And so there are things that I can imagine as infinite, but I could not imagine infinite love, like an infinite feeling of how it would just constantly be more and more, or like different and bigger. And like, because this person was like, I felt this love and it was so strong. And they were talking about this love that they felt. And they thought that that was like the most that they could ever feel love. And then all of a sudden, like this whole new wave of love came, and it was a whole new, and then that person was talking about how it was just like there was so much more out there that they didn't even know that was around love. I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, that would be interesting to explore more. But I mean, like I have had this experience where like I feel like I'm breathing in the universe, and then in an instant, doesn't last long, but like I've actually felt like the universe breathed me,
That's
and I
cool.
and I kind of feel like uh that infinite love thing, it's just like that's the other thing. The definition of love is an interesting like thing to explore, and then you're kind of going
That's
like,
true.
well, I mean, because in our society we have it really tied in a lot with not all of it, but a big aspect of it is tied in with sexual energy and like male female aspect versus just like your brethren
Right.
of other human beings and your family. I mean, it has that element too, but it also is like a big part of it is the romantic aspect, which is kind of uh,
Limited.
it's limited, and that's I don't know. I almost feel like that um, that kind of hinders our understanding of what it really is.
Right, that's true. I have meditated or thought a lot about unconditional love and trying to like give myself unconditional love and accept myself and all this, and doing that for others. And then that's the only thing that I can understand as really, really love, having unconditional love. But other than that, like that could even be skewed, or at least narrowed to my own perception of what that is.
Well, and then it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, is it unconditional acceptance, or is it like, do you have to be fond of it as well? Like, because
Yeah.
if it's just like a place of non-judgment and just like peace and like stillness, those are different things than what we think of in terms of like love is like, it's almost like there's an affirmation of like that you like something like a lot,
Well,
of
I
everything.
guess, but then for me, then that would almost be the same thing, because unconditional love is that you would love it. You would not judge it. It would be, there would be peace around it. But in addition to that, you would just love it, whatever it is. You would
Right.
just
Like not only just accept it, but also like
love it. Which
love
is,
it too. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, how do you do that
Yeah.
when you see crime, when you see all these violent things, and then you're like, how do you love that with unconditional love, and knowing that it's just really a dark
Well,
part?
I like that Buddhist practice. I think it's called loving kindness meditation. And that's where it's like you start out and the first exercise is you give, like you're supposed to give yourself love. Then you're supposed to then you're supposed to give love to, like a person that's easy for you to love, that you love, like your mom or
Right.
kid or something, or your husband, or like whatever, somebody that you already know you love. And then the next exercise is you're supposed to give love to someone that challenges you, someone that you have like not the greatest of personal life feelings for. And then the next exercise is like giving love to everybody, and
Yeah.
whatever. And you're supposed to strengthen the giving love to the people that you don't think that you do love. Like
Right.
I've always tried to work on that quite a bit, because like I don't, when I was little I used to have arch enemies and nemesises, and I would be like, that person is my nemesis, and it was like I don't know why I was very from the movies, I guess I thought there was like, I am the good character and
Right.
they are my villain, that is
Yes.
my personal villain, and they're gonna, yeah. um and then as I've gotten older, I don't actually have a villain anymore in
No.
my life story, like at all.
No, same
Um,
here. Like I don't. I mean, the word hate is such a strong word. I hate no
Hmm.
one. It's like, why would I have an
And people will be
enemy?
like, well, do you hate Hitler? And it's like, no, I don't hate Hitler. I know he did a bunch of heinous things or whatever, but I don't know Hitler. Like, you know,
Right. And also, it's so complex. And nothing is black and white. I'm not saying that, yeah, that I love his actions, but there's more to what's happening than what we could see that's happening at face value. So I don't know. It's hard to. You sound like, oh yeah, then you love this madman. You know,
right,
you're like,
exactly.
well,
Well, and then
that's
that's
unconditional love.
that's what gets me into the whole thing of does a person's action like let's
Identify
say like
them.
identify them for, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's like you could be, this saint of this the most amazing human being in the world, and then you accidentally or whatever made some mistake that killed somebody, or you could have, let's say you went crazy and you killed somebody, but does that mean that you're,
Like defined by that
yeah,
completely
forever, for all time,
forever.
and
I would
every
hope
action
not.
that you've done before is, so yeah, that's the thing, that's what makes me kind of go like,
Well, that's like we could talk about karma and reincarnation and how really we're all just expressions of the divine or of God or whatever it is that you think it is. Like we're just expressions of love because, right? So it had to break out of itself. It couldn't just be all in harmony and love all the time because then it would be bored and wouldn't be experiencing anything else. So we had to have all these experiences. We're just little gods separated from that in order to have all these experiences, and the collective experiences are making us like the full experience of love, no? So it's really all in the same. And we've had so many, all the lives you've ever lived, you've pretty much done everything, assuming, or you're at some point, at some level, had every single experience, you know? I
you
mean, we're
know
all connected.
I have real big like peaks and troughs of being like, I if you put a gun to my head and said like, have you lived before, and I'd be like, I tell you right now, I feel like I've been a man. I think I'm really good at being a man. Like I would be a really good man. Like I just know how to do it. I just do. Just have been a man many times. But I'm 100% straight chick who like is a girl, and I am a girl in this lifetime. But I know I've been a man. I know that sounds weird, but I've always had that feeling. Then not only that, but like I have big connections to being not human.
Right.
But like I don't have any human memories. I don't have any memories of being an actual, I can't give
Well,
you any
most of us don't have that remembrance of past lives.
well, but then sometimes I go back and forth to where I'm like, well, maybe it's all crap. Maybe I have a hard time knowing on whether or not, like my conviction on past lives is waning. It's always like do 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 depending on
Yeah.
the day.
I personally believe strongly that there are in reincarnations. Well, just because a soul to me is infinite. So if a soul is infinite, then we've had to have other experiences. And if we've only lived in human form for, let's say, as me, Danielle, like however X amount of years I am going to live here, then my soul will go on to have another experience, whether it's another human experience or non-human, it doesn't really matter, but I'll have another experience
Yeah,
as an infinite
but
soul.
but that's what I mean. The lack of memory is confusing, but
Yes.
um, there's that. But I I always wonder. It's um, like is it any less valid if it's not necessarily incarnated into like a human? Like it's like let's say I don't know, for a while after you die, like you spend time as energy itself, like.
Yeah. Well, there is that belief that this was my question around um, astrology and death, because if let's say if they were able to find out the Dalai Lama based on birth and death times, they can narrow down when the next Dalai Lama is going to be based on that information. And so that death time, there's a time in between lives that they call it, that the soul supposedly goes off to possibly another planet or another energy and is in another experience where they reflect, where they gain love enough, strong enough to go on to the next carnate.
Right. There's other work that's done before they're incarnated.
Right. It's not just like